Welcome to the Melinda Eitzen Show. I'm Melinda. Today we have with us Alesia Coffman with Merrill Lynch Wealth Management, and she is here to talk about her mission of helping women by educating them financially and empowering them when they're going through a divorce. Welcome, Alesia.
Well, thank you, Melinda, for having me.
I'm so glad you're here.
This is so fun. Thank you. What a great forum.
How did you get on this mission of helping women?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'll start by saying I've been in finance for 30 years.
Oh, a long time. So you've seen some things.
Only 30. I have seen a lot. And I myself have been through 2 divorces. And I just found myself gravitating towards women who find themselves in a situation where they have maybe not been as focused on their finances, raising children, having a family, doing all of those kinds of things. And very smart women have their own careers. So I have really loved that portion, and knowing that I can educate and empower women as they're going through the divorce, because I think that really translates into confidence and a financial future that they're proud of.
Oh, that's excellent. I know you have a credential called a CDFA. Tell us what that is.
Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, which means I might know a thing or two about dissecting a balance sheet as couples go through divorce. And from the most simple balance sheets to the most complex balance sheets. I have worked with a variety of families through my entire tenure on the division of assets. And what I find most is that the divide and conquer strategy really works in a marriage, obviously. And when a divorce happens, she, and I say she because I don't want to offend anybody.
But that's your focus.
But that's my focus.
Yes.
And because she's been the least involved in finances.
And that's common. We've both seen that through our careers. I'm also 30 plus years. And it's common that in the divide and conquer, we'd love for more women to be the ones managing the money. But historically, that has not been true. We've seen more men managing the money. And you have as part of your mission statement to educate.
That's right.
So what do you mean by the educate? Give an example.
Okay. An example is my clients can ask me, Alesia, what's an asset? And I have had, hey, do I want the 401k? Do I want cash in lieu of? What is how do I even start? Right? Going through this. So I have taken literally women by the hand and say, okay, let's sit down. What do you know? What do you not know? What can I make clear? What can I distill down for you? What can I give you in layman's terms? And I like to make it very safe for women to do that. Mm-hmm. And again, traditionally, her husband managing the assets, the CPA might be his college roommate. The investment advisor might be his brother-in-law. She's not going to feel compelled to pick up the phone and call him and say, hey, So I love to come alongside as an advocate during the divorce process, and I'd love to come in as early as possible and say, okay, how can I help you understand what is ununderstandable to you? How can I help you?
And sometimes people are embarrassed that they don't know what's the difference in a private investment versus owning a stock in
That's right.
Disney, right? And if you haven't dealt with that, you don't need to be embarrassed.
Right.
Like we don't all that's not part of our basic education.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and I always tell my girls, I'm like, if I ask him who the pediatrician is, does he know?
Right.
Does he know who the first grade teacher is?
Right. Oh, I've had people on the stand who did not.
Right. And it's not because he's incapable. It's just, that's not what you're focused on.
Right.
In terms of the marriage.
Maybe she had more parenting responsibilities or mommy on the spot managing the kids every day. And he was figuring out, should we invest in this or that?
That's right.
But to your point, every asset has a different character, meaning every asset may not be created equal.
Nope.
An example, there could be a private investment, meaning they've invested in a private investment. It's closely held. It's not out in the world for, the stock to be analyzed every day and valued. And there might be rules about this private investment, like a capital call.
That's right.
So explain a little about what is a capital call.
Okay. For example, I was in a mediation. I have a client whose husband headed a major financial firm here in Dallas. And she's very bright, from a notable college, university, has her own degree, has her own corporate job. And he had been investing in all these private companies along the way. She signs on the dotted line at the kitchen table. He comes home late at night, right? She signs and she
sign here, trust me.
Sign here, trust me, and essentially give the financial right away really to him. And she signs it and off they go. She puts the kids to bed and doesn't think anything of it. Well, here it's coming back to her because she sees all these names. She's like, I think I signed something on this one. I think I signed something on this one. We were in mediation and the first shot comes over the bow, right? And it's from his side of the table. And we look at it and it looks 50-50 on the bottom line. Well, isn't he nice? And I looked at it, and luckily I had the advantage of looking at the paperwork prior to the mediation. And I looked down and I'm like, oh, he's giving you all the private ones that he invested in that, by the way, aren't throwing off any dividends. So there's no income generated, but the ones that are, he's got in his. How nice.
All investments are not created equal.
None investments are created equal. And then we looked down, I thought, oh, these two. Let me see. Yeah, this one, I looked at my paperwork. I'm like, yep, these two have capital calls coming up, which means that the general partner of these private investments will call investments that they had agreed to invest in the private company in the next 6 to 9 months to the tune of $1 million.
Meaning you have to pay in more. You don't have a choice.
You have to
maintain your position in that investment.
That's right.
They're going to have a capital call, which means, hey, everybody, we warned you at the beginning of this investment there would be these capital calls, and it's time for one, and please give us $1 million.
And please give us $1 million. So if she gets those in the settlement, wins them in the deal, in the settlement, guess who they're going to call to get that?
Her alone.
And her alone, and she's going to have to scramble. Now, I will say, a caveat, many, many, many very capable family law attorneys can look at that same information, can deduct the same things that I did. But in another particular client, there was a lot of custody issues. There was a CPS issue, very much involved in the legal ramifications of what that meant to the family and the kid side of it. That by me coming in and saying, let me pepper this, let me give you some information as we go into mediation, saved a lot of time. Saved a lot of anguish and empowered her to understand, what am I looking at on this Excel spreadsheet? Instead of it just being numbers on a paper and I don't even know, very intimidating.
Yes.
She went, oh, I know what that one is. Oh, this one's that. So I was able to, and she was like, no, let's take cash in lieu of, or I want more dividend paying, income earning investments to trade some of these out. And so she felt very like, and I will tell you this too. I had a client, a separate client say, Alesia, I want to be smarter than he thinks I am.
That's great.
And I said, guess what? That is the name of my next book. Because at the end of the day,
be smarter than he thinks you are.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, a lot of my women just want to get through it. They just want to get it over with. But if you can sit there and you know what you're talking about, and I had a client say, who have you been talking to?
Well, we don't want our clients to have regret later, right?
That is a huge.
They're like, I don't care. I just want to sign the deal. I've got to get this over with.
Right.
And then if they did sign that deal and they had the capital call, they might not have $1 million to bring to that capital call.
And in that situation, in that capital call, she didn't. Because guess what else he was going to give her? The 401k.
Yeah.
She's 40 years. She's 40 years old. She can't access it for another 19 and a half years. By the time she's 59 and a half, without penalty. You can access it, but there's penalties to go through it. Right. So again, you're now already behind the 8 ball if you do.
Yes. So we need to calm our clients down. Yep. make them invest in education so they can make the best decisions.
Right.
So they don't have regret. But we appreciate and know, I've also been through divorce. We appreciate and know that feeling of they're going through a major life change. They don't want to deal with it. They do want to move on to the next, a lot of people need to know, right? I need to know how much I'm going to have. And that not knowing period is painful. And that's why one of the reasons that they're trying to hurry to settlement. But we have to educate them about, hey, you don't want to, that's a perfect example. You don't want to regret this later because we didn't look into something.
That's right. I've had people say, where were you when I was getting a divorce?
Oh.
Because I wish I had you. I wish I would have. Even a sounding board, even somebody just to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Do I want to keep the house?
And they don't maybe want to in a public setting with their husband. And we're saying husband and wife. It could be
right.
wife, right?
Yeah.
But they don't want to in a public setting with their spouse show their ignorance.
That's right.
Because they're embarrassed. So they don't want to say, well, why would I want the house or not want the house? Why would I want the fort? They don't want to say that in front of that person. So it's nice to have you. And would you ever do this without a lawyer involved?
No.
You're in a team.
No, because I want to, because that's the other thing. I want to be very clear. I'm not an attorney. I do not have a law degree. I do not draft anything. I also am an advocate. I'm not making decisions that is in tandem with your attorney. I can advise and I can educate and I can get alongside you and I can tell you what the implications of your decisions could and may be. Mm-hmm. But I just want to be a piece of that pie, that you have all of the people around you. You have the support. And I love to just translate uncertainty into empowerment. And that comes with education.
Yes.
And that it comes with the resource. And I will say that in my experience, the financial piece of it is probably one of the most daunting. For the spouse. I'm not going to say women, even though so I have 6 sisters. That's why I love working with women primarily, and I've been through it myself. So I know how, and I am a financial professional, and it was intimidating for me just to go through like, what do I expect? What do I need? How am I going to recreate this? And I have a son. What about college? What about vacations? What about the house? What about taxes? What are all the things, right? And it's daunting and it's overwhelming, especially if you have a full-time job. So I get that on so many levels, especially if the rug's taken out from under you and you feel paralyzed.
Yes.
The last thing you want to look at is a bank statement. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But I'll look at it for you.
Yes. You mentioned taxes and that's one area where I think there can be confusion is when you see assets on a balance sheet, some assets are pre-tax and some assets are post-tax.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that.
So again, as I'm not an attorney, I'm not a tax attorney either. I'm not a CPA, so I'm not licensed to give tax advice. Be very clear about that. However,
we do know if it's pre or post-tax.
We do know if it's pre or post-tax. We do know what the ramifications could be within a certain income level. Again, it's guidance. It's very much, okay, if you accept this, it's pre-tax, it's post-tax. If it is your property taxes, if you start to liquidate some of these because you don't have an income, or you need liquidity. Let's talk about that. And I like to strategically look at that when we're looking at a settlement. How much income are you going to have? Are you planning on going back to work? Do you have a job? Are you planning on selling the house? What does your liquidity look like? Because what happens is the lifestyle that the women want to, or the other spouse wants to keep up may very well change if the earner is no longer providing the income.
Right.
And so if we look at lockup, if we look at maybe illiquid, your house, yes, it's a great asset. And yes, it's in your column. You decide to keep it. Is it liquid? No. Technically, you can sell it. But what does that sales cycle look like? How much cash is going to be taken out of it? What is your equity in that property? Let's look at...
Will there be capital gains?
Will there be capital gains? Do you qualify for that? So all of these are very much goes into the education process. If then, almost like a tree. If you keep the house, then where's the payment coming from on the mortgage?
Right.
To
examine each thing.
Examine each little thing.
So on the pre-tax, post-tax, an example is one reason that we like 401ks in the world and that people are offered them and they're seen as a benefit is you get to put your money in there before it's been taxed.
That's right.
And then it grows tax-free until you pull it out. But then you're going to have to, unless it has a Roth aspect, you're going to have to pay tax on it. And the idea is it will be later in your life when you're maybe not making as much money or are retired and your tax rate will be lower.
That's right.
That's the philosophy.
That's the philosophy of it all. But is that always true? Not necessarily. And especially if the client is younger, because if you take it out, yes, you're going to owe regular income tax on that 401k.
Plus a penalty.
Plus a 10% penalty on top of it. So automatically, again, like I said earlier, you're behind the 8 ball.
So if we were comparing on the spreadsheet $1 in our checking account to $1 in our 401k, it's not an apple to apple, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Because that 401k dollar could be taxed, will be at some point, and may have a penalty depending on when it's pulled up.
That's right. And to your point earlier, an investment in the public stock market is not $1 in that public stock market. Is not the same as $1 in that private movie theater investment that is a private company that has a lockup 3 to 5 years that you can't get out of and may have a capital call.
Yes. We need to understand the rules of private investments. And also from a lawyer's lens, my experience has been some private investments are willing to divide the investment.
Yes.
And put half. And I'd just like to know that. Is that even an option?
Right.
Or does it say, no, you can't dilute your interest more, or maybe you don't want to because you have an interest that is a voting level you want.
That's right.
Or maybe they just don't allow it. It's a private. They kind of get to do what they want. So we like to explore that. Can we divide it or not? And then if you keep it, what are the implications? Is it his fishing buddy's business?
Construction company.
They just said, sure, fishing buddy will give a little bit of money. Little bit in their world, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Level.
And sometimes it can be very complicated. When you start drilling down with K1s and you look at some of the options that the general partner has put together in some terms, it can be very complicated to understand what the ramifications are of owning that investment.
And they're hard to value.
Cash? They're extremely hard to value. Now, we do our best job of trying to figure out what it is. But again, it's private. It's off market. It's not marked to a market. So you don't really have, you have a sense, but.
If it's small part of their portfolio and it's very difficult to value and it could be the gold mine in the future, that's one reason I like to know, can we just divide it? Then you're riding the roller coaster together.
That's right.
As long as they're not some horrible a capital call.
Right. And she's like, I hated that fishing buddy anyway. Right. I'd rather have cash in lieu of. But I was also going to tell you that 401k too can also be divided, tax and penalty free, as long as it's moved in kind, what we call in kind, which is securities.
They can divide.
Don't try to sell it.
Yes.
Don't try to sell it and give me, because then you're looking at a penalty and you're looking at taxes.
Yes. Don't do self-help either.
That's right.
I have people who are like, we divided the 401k. I'm like, what?
You did. You did. I'm sorry.
Excuse me? Because we can divide it subject to divorce, like you just said, and avoid the penalty.
Right.
And avoid the tax event.
That's right.
And basically roll the other one person's half into, or whatever percentage, into an IRA.
Right. And the portfolio looks exactly the same as what he had. We're just taking, stock XYZ, and there's 100 shares, 50 go to her, 50 shares go to him.
But it has to be done properly with a special order.
That's right. With a special order.
Through the divorce. So do not self-help people.
No, do not. No, I wouldn't recommend that at all. But I would say, though, anything that, as I go through as an advocate and these questions come up,
yes,
we can talk through it as they come up instead of waiting till the very end when that shot comes across the back of the spreadsheet.
Right.
So she's
already educated.
Right. We've taken the time to go through these. We've looked at them. And I just feel passionate about the education piece, it becomes less scary.
Yes.
You hold your head high and go, oh, I know he can't push this by me, or she can't push this over on me, because I know what we're talking about here. I've already consulted with somebody.
Yes.
And along the way, if something pops up out of, oh, we forgot about this one investment over here. Well, let's look at this. Let's put this in the pot too. But I feel so passionate about, I have had clients say, I walked in there feeling educated, empowered, knowing I wasn't afraid. I knew what I needed for my financial future, and I was willing to stand up for myself.
So it's very rewarding work for you.
Extremely rewarding work for me. And in the terms of how do you engage me, it is a free consultation.
A free consultation?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And there's no letter of intent. We don't make you sign something that we're going to manage your money or do something after the fact of your settlement. Yeah. It literally is because this is the love of my 30-year career. I want to know who you are. I want to get to know you. That's and similar to like a CPA, give me all your paper. Dump it on my desk. Let's sift through it together and let's see what we have, and let's see what your needs are and how I can, make you feel better about and empowering you to be passionate about your own success.
Yes. Now, if they wanted to, after that experience with you, mm-hmm. which they would have a lot of exposure to you,
right,
going through that, if they wanted to invest with you, they could, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you'd be honored to have
I would be honored. And a lot of times, it makes me even enjoy it more because then I get to see it through. I get to see the future plan. And I will sit through, we have a computer program, and I input all of the little inputs. You have the house, you have this income, what does this look like? How can we invest for your future? How can we make sure that you're successful? And look, I work for Merrill Lynch. It's Merrill Lynch, Bank of America. You need a checking account? I got you. You need a credit card? I got you. And in some cases, I've opened checking accounts and credit cards even before it was final, so that when my client walks out your door,
yes,
good luck. See ya.
Well, you're right, because people don't have a credit card in their own name. Mm-mm. They don't have a bank account in their own name. We've got to make all that happen. Lawyers aren't going to manage that. They don't want to pay my rate to figure out how to open a bank account.
So we've done it. And so when the settlement comes through, they've already have the account set up. They've already got that. Alesia, it's come through. Can you?
Yes.
Client XYZ, we just saw it land. We have it. Let's get started. And so if they're not walking out your front door going, oh, great. Now
and
what?
They need to establish credit. Sometimes they're a secondary card holder.
You're 100% right.
On everything.
They're an authorized user.
Name, and they don't really have their own individual credit established.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that would be an example of immediately, like the minute they're going through divorce, get a credit card in their own name.
Yeah, we recommend that. Yeah. So the sooner we can get involved in the affairs of the dividing parties, the better, in my opinion.
Yes, I 100% agree.
Yeah, because then we can kind of hold her hand and hold his hand and figure it out.
She may not realize that she doesn't really have credit.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's always been handled and she has a credit card, her name is stamped on the credit card.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing, though, if you're just an authorized user.
Yeah, that's right. And our office is on Mockingbird Station.
Oh, that's convenient.
We're local. We're right here.
Yeah.
So Dallas, Fort Worth really is I have clients in Florida and I have some in Colorado as well. But mostly it's just the DFW Metroplex, and we've got banks and
what's great in this environment is we can meet in person with people, but you also, I assume, do Zoom or something.
Oh, all the time. Yep.
I mean, frankly, when you do a spreadsheet work with somebody, it's almost nicer to do it on the Zoom because you can put it up on the screen.
I love that.
You know?
Yep. And we can highlight cells.
You're not printing every 5 seconds. Yeah. You can just show live what you're doing.
That's right. And it doesn't matter, convenient. Traditional attorney or collaborative.
Oh, yes.
So yes. So you do a lot of mediation and a lot of collaborative work.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you work with financial advocates in that scenario.
Yeah. Well, the collaborative model has a neutral financial professional. So that person is often doing what you're doing, doing educating and hopefully empowering both people. They're neutral. But sometimes my client might also feel like they'd like to have somebody else on the side, which we have to reveal. It can't be a secret in collaborative, but sometimes they want to be able to ask questions that maybe they don't want a neutral to hear, So they might appreciate somebody like Alesia. And by the way I met Alesia was in a case.
It was
She was helping my client, and I was so impressed with the work you did with her.
Thank you.
And it was a challenging case, and you were a cool head and very professional and smart. And sometimes you'll work with a professional, you don't always agree with what they're saying, but I remember thinking, oh, she knows what's going on. I agree with her.
Melinda.
You were teaching me stuff. So that is a great aspect. And then, of course, in litigation cases, which I still litigate a little bit, but I prefer the ADR, the mediation and collaborative, but sometimes you have to try them. And I've tried cases for 30 years, so I'm not afraid to try them. And sometimes you have to. And certainly in litigation, our client would want to have someone like you, hopefully you, helping them to understand and make good decisions. Yeah. And it's really important that clients have enough information and can sit down with somebody more than one time. They're drinking from the fire hose a little bit, right? So we can't sit down and explain every asset in one sitting and really expect somebody to take all that in. Mm-hmm. And so I know you're great about, hey, we're going to meet more than one time. You can ask as many questions as you want.
Yep.
We're going to have to go over this stuff more than once, because if they truly, just due to their life experience, that isn't their area of education, it hasn't been their area of experience, they might be saying, what's the difference between a restricted stock and a stock option?
Yep.
And
what's vested mean?
Yes.
What is vested, and how do I know what the timetable is? And
there's a lot to explain.
A lot to explain.
And nobody in 1 hour is going to take it all in. So right. I appreciate that about you. I know you have invested a lot of time in these cases to help these women really feel empowered and able to make the best decisions for themselves, and if they have children, for their children.
And able.
Yes.
And able. And I think that is confidence, right? And it's independence. That they know that when I leave this settlement or when I leave this marriage, not all is lost. I can stand on my own 2 feet.
Yes.
I know what I'm doing. I've got somebody in my corner. I can go forward with my head held high and knowing that I'm going to be okay. And that's what drives me every single day to do what I do. And I will pick up the phone at night on a Saturday. And a lot of times, I mean, I'm not a licensed therapist either. But
me neither, but I play one on TV.
I play one on TV. I play one on Zoom. I play one on the phone. But that's what makes my job work. Only, again, because I've been there.
Right.
I've been there twice. And I did, and a lot of people will say, oh, Alesia, are you an advocate for divorce? I'm like, no, I'm not pro-divorce. I'm pro-marriage, right? I didn't even want the 2 I had. Let's just say that.
Yes.
But if the unfortunate circumstance arises and there's no going back, then okay. Then let's put a strong foundation under your feet so that we can go forward. And that's really all it is. It's not trying to get one over on him or to try to stick it to him or the other spouse. That's not it at all. It's actually a more loving, compassionate way of empowering the person that you built 20 years with. Right?
Yes.
To go forward and raise your babies and do all the things and get a job maybe if she hasn't worked, or, get that certification, or, let her fill out her dreams too, because I believe that helps the whole family.
Yes. Well, you mentioned we're not advocating people to get divorced who don't need a divorce.
Right.
But you cannot save a marriage by yourself.
No, you cannot.
So there are times when, in my experience, people are not quick to divorce. They have tried everything, usually.
My experience too.
And waited way too long to get to divorce, lived miserably because they just couldn't wrap their head around divorcing. So in my experience, most people, who do reach the point of divorcing, it has been a thoughtful endeavor, or they've had no thought about it and they're shocked and surprised, which is worse in some ways. The other person has filed for divorce and they didn't see it coming. So now you're dealing with somebody who is reeling from this oh my gosh, what? We're getting divorced. And then on top of it, they're being asked to make these very hard decisions. So we don't want anybody to make a fear-based decision.
No, that's right.
We want them to make a decision based on good information and knowledge. So it's wonderful to have you out there helping people.
Well, it's funny because when I talk about, and thank you for having me, because I've been wanting to really get it out there. I kind of do it slow, quietly, because I don't want, people to assume that I'm an advocate, but for divorce. But when I tell people what I do, it's like, oh my gosh, can my sister call you? Oh my gosh, can my brother-in-law call you?
Yes, it rings a chord with people.
And there's not a whole lot of people. Yeah. And so that has really, I've narrowed after 25 years of being in Dallas. That's kind of what I want to focus the majority of my time. Do I have male clients? Absolutely. Do I have married clients? Absolutely. This is my book of business, but I think I can do a lot of thoughtful advising, advocacy for women in this space who just need a little bit of support and take the fear out of it.
It's your passion project.
It's my passion project.
We're going to put on the screen how to find you, Alesia.
Please do.
And we're so appreciative. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you for watching. So whether you're getting divorced or not, it's always good to be a little wiser with your wealth and have an understanding of your finances. So maybe you're not divorcing, but you listen and you think, it would be good if I knew the difference between a restricted stock and a stock option. Alesia is here to explain it all, so don't hesitate to reach out to her. Thanks for watching, and please tune in again next time.